let's do this. I'm going to throw a running back on here that's been there, done that, so you guys can understand what it takes because I know what it takes as a kicker. I know what it takes as a punter and a snapper. I've even recruited those guys. I've got All Americans. I've done it and then some. But what does it take for running back? Let's get someone on the line that can tell you that right now.
The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here.
The champ is indeed here, one of the top running backs ever to grace the beautiful state of Utah. He played at BYU. He committed to Oregon State, and he finds himself as one of my next door neighbors. We're talking about the one, the only Lopini Katoa. Lopini, how you doing on this beautiful day?
I'm doing great, bro. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so stoked that I was able to coax you out of your dwelling like I was coaxed out of mine. I felt like a hibernating moose going into the season, and I was like, got to get Lopini on the podcast and see what does it take to be a top running back in this state.
Whew. Where do I start? Oh, man. I think the state of Utah, first of all, at the time when I was playing and back when you were playing, had so much underrated talent, first and foremost. And now it seems like it's trending in a way where we're more on the map. So that is a huge advantage, at least to be seen. Like you can do all the work that you want, but you not be seen. But now that's not the case anymore. You don't really have to worry about that too much in Utah. So first and foremost, there's eyes on Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say to be a top running back in the state, man, there's layers to that question. How do you want me to break that down, man? Like,
So there's a couple ways that I could see it. Like, first, physically, what does it take? And then what mentality do you have to have? Because some of these running backs, I'm like, you're not the most physically imposing person. And then I see them take on
right.
these linebackers that are like 50 pounds heavier than them, give them a LaDainian Tomlinson stiff arm, and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, that man is an absolute dog. And I've seen that from you a time or two when I was playing against you. And then when I saw you at BYU, I'm like, he shouldn't make that catch. And then all of a sudden, you're parallel to the ground and the ball's resting in your arms like a beautiful egg to a mother hen. So, how do you do all of that, Peony?
Okay, yeah. So to be able to say, first of all, the mindset of a running back is the same mindset that a linebacker has on defense, right? They're head hunting. They're the ones trying to set the tone for their defense. They're kind of their quarterback, right? So obviously we have our quarterback. He handles the structure. He handles the making sure everything looks right, telling people if they're out of place. But the running back needs to be that guy that is going to set the tone, right? And be the guy that, regardless of what he's doing, blocking, running, catching, he's going to make his presence be felt. Whether you juke somebody out of their socks or lower your shoulder, run through somebody for extra 5-10 yards. Those things were just part of the job description that is just a given. Right? If you don't really have that edge, then it's you're not going to be able to have your presence be felt and swing that momentum for your teammates. So I'd say just having like everybody knows like that nasty linebacker mentality, right? And that's kind of what the same mentality a running back needs to have. You don't have to be, rah-rah, yelling out and stuff. I definitely wasn't that type of player. I try to be the ones to do it just with my pads, right? So I'd say, first of all, having that mentality, and then skill set wise, in my opinion, well, here's the thing. At running back, you can get it done with a lot of different type of skill sets and a lot of different type of body, frames and heights, weight. You see it all over the, there's a huge scale at what you can be to be an elite running back. You see your 6'3", 6'2", 6'1" running backs who are tall, long strides, hard to tackle just because they're huge. Then you have the short, shifty guys, super strong, hard to tackle because their center of gravity so low.
Hmm.
So that's a good thing. I'd say if you're like, "Oh, I don't know where my body fits in." Okay, if you're strong and you got some speed on you, you can learn how to play running back because there's a lot of different bodies types that are playing at the highest level.
I love
Um,
that because I talk to linemen all the time because in my head I'm about 6'6", 300. And in all reality, I'm not quite there. But the way you're explaining it, linemen are kind of like mathematicians. You need to be this tall, you need to do this.
right,
But running backs, it sounds like, are almost like Picasso's, where you're like, we've got a paintbrush, we can figure it out. It might not look
right,
great, but everyone's going to value it some different way. And I see that's how it kind of is. We've got a traditional running back like Eka from Lehigh, and then we've got a different type of running back when you go to Corner Canyon and you're like Brighton Brady. He's not as big, but he's putting up 7 touchdowns. And then you've got your traditional all around back in Siake Fekitoa over there at Bountiful, where you're just like, okay, you're a little bit of mix of everything. Not the biggest,
yeah,
but you're a bruiser as well. And then you've got your traditional bruiser in like Cannon Huntsman, where he's like 6'2", 225, and you're like, I do not want to see you in the hole. So there's so many different types of running backs, and that's what makes rating running backs difficult at this day and age, because you're like, what does a college look for in a running back? What were you asked to do in college that was a little different than what you were asked to do in high school?
I would say one of the biggest things, and honestly, what I feel like was a credit to me being able to get on the field early in my career in college was being able to do everything. Not just not or do everything at a high level. And I say everything, I mean running, blocking, and catching. An offensive coordinator doesn't want to sit there and say which running backs on the field, which play can I call.
Mm,
You get what I'm saying? They want I know offensive coordinator. They might have certain personnels where they're like, okay, this plays a little bit more successful if this running back is on the field because he can do X, Y, Z better than the other running back. But if there's a running back that's on the field that they don't have to worry about if they know their assignment, they don't have to worry about if they can pick up a linebacker coming down the A gap hot. They don't have to worry about if they can check a swing, catch it and get a first down. Like they don't have to worry at all. Like I that's kind of like what. And as I'm training running backs, as I'm working with running backs, I try to help them as best I can develop that full all-around skill set. Um, because there's a lot of things that we can control in that. We can't control our body types, right? But we can control our, learning how to correctly pick up a block or a pass rush. We can learn how to, track a ball and catch it better. We can learn how to, read the holes, hit it. So, in my opinion, I just think the biggest thing that separates them is like, okay, you can't get away with being average at picking up a pass block anymore.
mm.
You can't get away with using the skills that you're the best at. You might excel at running the ball inside zone. You might excel at running the ball outside zone a little bit better. But the things that you're not as good at are going to be exposed when you go to the next level, and it's going to hurt your time to be on the field. So you got to close the gap. Whatever you're great at, bring all those other skills up to that level.
I love that because I love the 3 skills that you highlighted: catching, running the ball, and blocking. That third one, to me, is what makes the difference between running backs at this point. And even
Right.
in high school, the bleeding down, there's a lot of schools that are running 10 personnel. And if your running back can't read a block, understand the scheme, and then pick up the right guy, your quarterback's dead. And then all of a sudden, your whole team dynamics has changed. I mean, that's what
Absolutely.
makes the difference between a good and a great running back in my mind. And I love running backs that are just pricks, that you're just like, oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
That, like, the play that really illuminates in my mind, I think it was the Ravens playing the Chargers, and I think it was the Chargers had some little tiny running back. It was like Darren Sproles or Michael Turner, some dude that was under 5'10", and they took on like Ray Lewis and just lit him up. And I'm like, oh no. And that is a bigger highlight for me when I evaluate film than someone ripping off like 100-yard run, where I'm like, okay, cool, you can do that. But what do you do when someone's coming through the A gap? What do you do when the game's on the line and the quarterback needs to get a pass off? Because there's so many teams that are spread out now. I would love to have Houston Heimuli in front of me. I would love to have Lorenzo Neal in front of me, but that's not quite a reality anymore. Usually it's some tight
Right.
end that's like, I'm 6'2" and I can't really run. And you're like, oh crap, let's go. And you're just praying that that guy puts his nose in between the numbers of the guy he needs to block. But with you, you were able to experience everything. What has football taught you, and be it from being a running back to being a football player, that you apply to your life now?
Oh man, I football along with some other things in life are basically, yeah, definitely shaped who I am today. I'd say just at a young age, just growing up in a family that, loved football. My dad played football. My older brother played football. It was just kind of something we fell in line with, right? And so I didn't realize how much it was changing me until I realized, until I go out into the world and say, how much different I am than your average person, as far as like work ethic, as far as being able to work with a team, be coachable, what else? The list goes on, man. Like, to develop, long lasting relationships where you trust the guy next, or trust the people around you to execute their job, and they're trusting you. Like, it is a special sport if you respect the game for what it is, right? Two people can play football their whole entire lives and walk away two different people because they didn't approach the game like it's meant to be approached. So I would say respect the game. I mean, every head coach should. I mean, I won't say every, because there's some. I don't know how some people get, head coaching jobs with some of the culture they promote. But I'll say the majority of head coaches out there are going to promote the right football culture, and for kids to be able to get the most out of the sport they're sacrificing for every single day, right? You're going to be playing it every day. You might as well get the most out of it. And to me, to get the most out of it for your life is to respect the game for what it is, right? Do everything right. Do everything your coaches are telling you to do.
I love that. Do everything right. Do everything your coaches are telling you to do. You can't really go rogue at running back and be like, we had one running back in high school that he'd try to bounce every single thing. It would be like a dive. And he's like, I just watched Reggie Bush highlights and this is what he did. And I'm like, bro, you're never going to see the field. And he's like,
Yeah.
bet I'm 6'3", 220. And I'm like, you're 6'3", 220 behind is going to be playing D end. In our senior year, he was playing D end. And he's like, I run a 4.4. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you run a 3.4. Hit the right hole. And I think that's a big microcosm of everything that happens, where it's like, okay, you've got to do the right thing. And if you go 100% in the right way, even if the result doesn't turn out the right way, you're going to end up in a better situation. I mean, I had another teammate. He started 17 businesses, and on the 18th business, he ended up selling it for tens of millions of dollars. And
Wow.
he was doing everything the right way, figuring it out, but he realized that he's like, okay, I need to adjust. I need to make sure I'm doing everything right. And if I do it the right way, good things will happen. It didn't happen the first 17 times, but the 18th time it did. Another interesting thing
Absolutely.
that a lot of kids that are going to be hitting, you took over, I think you took over for Cade Zarbach. Is that right?
Cade Zarbach. Wow. Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a minute, but I was like maybe two years after him.
Oh, dang it. I was
Yeah.
going to do a great question about taking over for a legend because I love Cade Zarbach. But you had
Well,
other legends
it was
like.
one running back. There was one running back in between us.
Okay, we
at a
don't
time.
even count him. He doesn't count. But what was it like taking over for like Jamal then? Where Jamal was at BYU before you. And then there was an expectation of running backs with Jamal and Algie Brown where you came in. What was it like taking over that room?
Yeah, something like I know watched Jamal obviously, and I watched just these legendary running backs. I mean, you can take it all the way back to like just the legend, just the culture of running backs when Harv was playing, when Fui was playing, Fahu, like all of these big names, and for me, I take that as like I love that because there's an expectation
Mm.
of greatness, but just like I described, there was a lot of different styles of running backs in the names I just listed. And so my biggest thing was I'm not trying to mimic Jamal. I'm gonna take from his game what applies to my game, but I want to be a game changer and be a playmaker like them. And so my biggest thing was, okay, there's this level of greatness. Now do what you do. Don't try to be somebody else. Do what you do at a high level to mimic that level of greatness. And for us, the most of the time I was there is it was running back by committee, so it was kind of we had to have like a culture of greatness. Like, hey, we're gonna lean on each other. Um, like we're gonna give it all, empty the tank. Next guy's gonna come in, pick up, carry the baton. Next guy's gonna come in, pick up, not miss a beat. So I think that those running backs setting the standard is like very crucial, and it's also something you could look at as a high school athlete. Like, where do I want to take my talents? Okay, where is there a culture of greatness at your position at the next level? Because that will be your expectation, and you either rise to the occasion or you don't, right?
Mm. I love that. It reminds me of one of my teammates. His name was Squally Canada. And
Oh,
Squally was really funny because he ended up transferring to BYU from Washington State and he was playing for Mike Leach. And he was the second string running back, but he didn't even travel. And he was like, he's like, I don't know what's going on. They said they were going to run the ball with me here, and I'm not even on the travel team, and I'm a 4-star running back. And I'm like, Squall, you went to Washington State. Mike Leach hasn't ran the ball more than like 10 times in his life. What are you doing? And he's like, but I like Mike
right,
Leach. And I'm like, I like Mike Leach too. But if his whole philosophy was, I'm not going to kick, I probably wouldn't go there no matter
right,
how
right,
much
right.
I like the guy. And so I think that's
For
very
sure.
sage advice to talk about go where you know what the culture is, one, and what the expectations are, two.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, I've seen kids that even in high school where they go to programs where they can be super successful, choosing in ninth grade, be like, hey, this coach wants to do this, 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 and this. And that's how I'm going to get on the field. That's how I'm going to be successful. And I've seen other people do it before me. And it's really interesting to watch with that. So, with you, you had an incredible football career. You're an incredible dude. What has it been like not having football in your life for the last little bit?
Um. So it's definitely like all those things that your coaches say that go in one ear and out the other for your whole career, where they're like, enjoy it, guys, soak it in. It's gonna be gone one day. Like, you'll never get this back. Those coaches are like, I'll do anything to put the helmet on one more time. Something that you're like, okay, you're corny, whatever. Like, let's just go into the locker room. Like, it hits you. It hits you though. At varying levels, you're like, wow, yeah, that's the reality of not being able to put the helmet on, not feel that accomplished feeling after like a long day of fall camp and being in the locker room chilling with your boys. Like, those are gone, right? But um, it's just life, right? Things come and go, and so I try to just remember the good, and that's something that's I feel like is nice. Is like football was like super difficult at times, just mentally and physically. Um, but after you put in your best effort, when you step away from the game, a lot of, like, it's hard to remember the bad things that went on.
Hmm.
My mind is just kind of, I don't know if I've just subconsciously blocked the bad out, but I just completely took away the good. So when I reflect on football, it's like it's a good thing. I know it's never going to come back, and I'm able to scratch that itch by sharing my knowledge with the next generation. So I don't feel like I'm completely out of football now because I'm training running backs personally, and then I am coaching at American Fork High School too, the running backs at American Fork. So kind of full circle type of thing, and don't feel like I'm completely removed from the game. So maybe that's helping me not feel like as like not missing the game as much like being in the past because I'm out there on the field every day. But yeah, it's funny. Like I said, those coaches that keep saying the same thing after practice is over, and you feel like they're just holding you there. Like they're actually there's some value to that, right? Um, when it's gone, it's gone. So you gotta give it all you can.
I think that's so funny because it's absolutely true. The farther away from the game you are, you're like, man, that was really cool. What a delightful experience. For me, I always laugh. After I blew my knee out at snow, I was coaching at BYU, and I had about probably 8 coaches approach me asking me to go kick again. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, no. I don't have my
Uh-huh.
life controlled by football for once. And I was still coaching, but I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it
For
was
sure.
just that initial like weight off your shoulders, relaxing for the first time in your life, where I was like, okay, now I can look back and be like, maybe I should have done it. But in all reality, I'm like, nah, I didn't have it in me. So
Right.
I'm glad you have that healthy thing. I'm glad you're coaching at American Fork with Riker Matthews, another friend of the show.
Oh yeah.
Riker's one of my favorite punters of all time, and he is the best looking punter of all time as well. But with that,
Absolutely.
AF is in great hands with you and Riker there and all the wonderful people over there. How do people get a hold of you if they want to get some running back training? Because I'm fired up now. I think I can be a running back. Maybe I'll come to a session or two and see what we can get done.
Oh yeah, bro. I'm confident you can get it done. In order, I just like off my Instagram. I have an Instagram page for it. I have Facebook page, but it's Lopini. Like if you just go to my Instagram, Lopini Katoa, in the bio, you'll see my training is called Every Down Back. Basically, based off of what I described, what I think it takes to be a great running back at the next level, you have to be reliable on every play. So that's the philosophy of my training. Just training a whole skill set. So
Hmm.
let me know. We
So
are working.
go
What's
ahead.
up? Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good. Sorry.
Oh no, I say we're out working almost every day, group sessions or private sessions. So we
Okay.
can easily get somebody on the calendar.
Perfect. Every single day. See, that's a dedicated man right there. My training is once a week on Saturday for 1 hour. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. That's great. But Lopini is grinding every single day. And if you guys, can you spell out your name? Because there's a lot of
Nah, I
people.
got you. Yeah, it's if you go to my at is Lopini, and then the number 4. The full name is Lopini Katoa, Lopini Katoa. So
Okay, Lopini
find me there.
Katoa. I can say it. I know you go way back, even to when you were Taylor at one point, I think, where I was like, nah, you don't need that. Stick with Lopini. And it's just great to have you on. Great to see your success. I'm sure you're going to get a bunch of running backs reaching out to you so they can go dominate. And I'm excited to see what American Fork does. I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Thanks, Moose. Appreciate you, bro. I'll see you down the road.
I'll see you on the road too, walking my
Literally.
dogs and running a 5K every other day. Maybe I can get you out to do that with me.
No, thank you.
Well, that's
Appreciate you, bro.
appreciate you too. Well, that's it for us at the Utah Preps podcast. Thank you so much. We'll be rating, I believe, safeties next week. Have a safety on. We'll see what we can do. But this is Moose Bingham with the Utah Preps podcast.
A game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. What time is it? Game time. What's that? Playoffs? What are you talking about? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.